I know sometimes love is tough, but when they show you one time who they are, don't go back.
Disturbing new information tonight on a local man who is accused of murder.
19 investigators found the suspect has a significant criminal history spanning multiple states.
And the woman he's accused of killing, police say he's been violent with her in the past.
According to court records we obtained, Sanders recently threatened Pruitt with a gun.
And it's hard because now we gotta bury our sister. He took her from her kids, her grandkids, sisters, brothers. It was not her time.
Well, relieved more than anything. I think it'll be good for her to get away from the emergency tragedies. Really?
How many chances should a man get to shoot you in the head? Because apparently in Cleveland, the answer is 2. And before you'll come for me, I know some of you are doing your research. I see you in the comments, talking about background checks and asking the right questions. You're trying, and I respect that. But here's what's keeping me up at night. The statistics for these exact cases are going up, not down. More women doing checks, more awareness than ever. And yet here I am about to tell you about Briekethia Pruitt, another woman who died at the hands of a man who already shot her once. So what are we missing? What aren't we catching? Stay with me, because the answer might save somebody's life. You're on TikTok Crimes. We cover what happens when social media fame turns fatal. TikTok stars, Instagram couples, Facebook influencers. When their posts become crime scenes, we break down exactly what went wrong. These aren't just viral stories. These are real murders, real victims. Subscribe right now if you want the truth behind the trending hashtags, because by the time something goes viral, somebody's usually already dead. Here's what happened. Briekethia Pruitt was the woman everybody turned to when life got hard. Growing up in Cleveland, she wasn't just raising her 5 kids. She was raising the whole neighborhood's spirits. Her sister Nicole Geiger tells this story about how Briekethia once spent her last $20 on gas to drive an elderly neighbor to dialysis. That's who she was, the type to give you her last when she didn't have enough for herself. Family members Magetta and Lavetta Pruitt. Yeah, the Pruitts run deep in Cleveland. They remember Briekethia organizing food drives out of her own kitchen. Not because anybody asked her to, not for social media clout, just because she saw need and couldn't walk past it. She had this laugh that would fill up a whole room, and Lord knows she needed it raising 5 kids on her own. But here's what you'll need to understand about women like Briekethia. That same heart that makes them save everybody else, sometimes it forgets to save room for protecting itself. She believed in second chances, like some people believe in God, faithful to a fault. And there was somebody watching that faith, studying it, waiting to exploit it. 2020, middle of a pandemic. Everybody's lonely, everybody's scrolling. Briekethia's on Tagged. And hold up, let me stop right here because I know somebody just said, Tagged still exists. Yes, it does. And apparently, it seems to be where predators go shopping. Well, according to Nazi's post, her mama met Cory Sanders on Tagged, and they started talking. Now, we don't know exactly what he said to win her over, but whatever it was worked fast. See, men like Cory, they know how to spot generous hearts from a mile away. They look for women who see the best in everybody. Women who believe in second chances. Women like Briekethia. And here's what gets me. Within 3 weeks of meeting online, this man was staying at her house. 3 weeks, y'all. From stranger on the internet to sleeping under the same roof as her 5 children. Now, I'm not saying every man who moves fast is dangerous. But when you see the rest of this story, you're gonna understand why that timeline matters. 3 weeks. That's all it took for Cory to convince Briekethia to let him stay over. 3 weeks from hello to having a whole man in her house with her children. And before anybody says that's too fast, you're right, it is. But loneliness and sweet talk make 3 weeks feel like 3 months. Trust me, I've seen it happen to smarter women than you and me. Now here's where the story takes a turn that even I didn't see coming. Briekethia's daughter, we'll call her Nassie, because that's what she goes by on Facebook. She was there from jump. Watched this man come into their life smooth as butter, and something felt off to her. But what's a daughter supposed to say when she sees her mama smiling for the first time in years? They're playing house, everything seems good. And then Cory suggests a little getaway. A day's in Illyria. Nothing fancy, just some alone time. Briekethia's thinking, this is sweet, romantic even. She gets dressed up, tells the kids she'll be back tomorrow, and heads out for what she thinks is going to be a nice night away from responsibility. You're sitting down. Because what happened at that day's inn is exactly why I tell you to Google these men, call their mamas, run a whole FBI investigation before you go anywhere. They're settling into the room when there's a bang on the door, not a knock, a bang, like somebody's trying to break it down. Cory opens it, and standing there is a whole wife. Not an ex-wife, not a separated wife, a whole where the hell is my husband wife? And she's hot. She's screaming, she's crying, she's calling Briekethia every name but a child of God. And Briekethia, she's sitting there in shock because this man never mentioned a wife, never mentioned he was married. Had her up in a day's inn like some side piece when she thought she was building something real. But wait, it gets worse. Because while this wife is going off, spilling all the tea about their marriage, their kids, their life together, Cory's standing there trying to manage both women. Not apologizing, not explaining, managing. Like they're both problems he needs to solve instead of people he's been lying to. That night changed everything. Briekethia told him to take her home. And you know what's crazy? She was still calm about it, still gracious, because that's who she was. Even in her anger, even in her humiliation, she kept it together. Asked him to drop her and Nassie back at the house in Cleveland and just leave. But men like Cory don't just leave, they escalate. See, being exposed, being caught, that's what triggers them. His whole game depended on Briekethia not knowing about his wife, and now that she did, now that his control was slipping, he needed to get it back. Nassie told this part on Facebook, and when I read it, my blood ran cold. After Cory dropped them off, he didn't go home to his wife. He didn't go apologize or try to fix his marriage. Number, he went to his son's house to get a gun. Let me say that again for the people in the back. This man's response to being caught cheating was to go get a gun. And here's where I need everybody to pay attention, because this is the part where red flags turn into danger signs. When a man's reaction to losing control is to arm himself, that's not anger. That's not even rage. That's premeditation. That's a decision to do harm. While Briekethia was at home processing what just happened, probably crying, probably wondering how she missed the signs, Cory was out there plotting. And the worst part, she thought she was safe. She was in her house, with her kids, in her neighborhood. The drama was over, or so she thought. But Nassie knew something was wrong. Call it intuition, call it having watched too many men come and go, but she stayed alert. Good thing too, because later that night, when Briekethia had gone out, probably to clear her head, maybe to talk to a friend about what happened, Nassie was home alone. And that's when she heard it. Someone in the back of the house. Nassie's account of what happened next is burned into my brain. She says her mama came home and found Cory in the back room. Now how did he get in? Did he keep a key? Did he break in? We don't know. But what we do know is that he was waiting. The fight started immediately, and I want y'all to understand, this wasn't an argument. This wasn't a discussion about the wife situation. This was violence. They fought through the house, from the back room to the living room, and Nassie watched it all happen. Can you imagine watching your mama fight for her life in the same living room where y'all watch movies and eat popcorn? The same house that's supposed to be safe. When they got to the living room, that's when Cory pulled out the gun, put it right to the side of Briekethia's head. And Nassie says her mama couldn't even see because of how badly he'd beaten her face. But when she felt that cold metal against her temple, she jerked her head. That movement saved her life. The bullet went through her hair. Through her hair. Nassie said it knocked the hair off the side of her head and went straight through the couch into the wall behind it. 1 inch different, and this story would have ended in 2020. But God wasn't ready for Briekethia yet. And Cory, his gun was out of bullets. So Cory's standing there with an empty gun pointed at Nassie. And this baby, Lord, give her strength. She tells him the police are on the way. You know what this fool does? Goes back in the house looking for his car keys, his phone, his wallet. But Nassie, she already had his keys around her neck and his stuff in her hoodie. Bean had them. This child was moving like she'd been preparing for this moment her whole life. When he couldn't find nothing, he took off on foot. The police found him later, and here's where this story should have ended. Attempted murder, right? Shot at a woman's head in front of her daughter. That's gotta be serious time. They charged him with attempted murder. Had the bullet hole in the couch. Had Briekethia's hair stuck in it. Had the whole crime scene looking like a CSI episode. But wait. Let me tell you all what they found when they really looked into Cory Sanders. This man had a rap sheet longer than a CVS receipt. We talking multi-state criminal activity. In 2008, and I need y'all to sit with this, he brutally beat his disabled mother in her Cleveland home. His own mama, the woman who gave him life, who probably defended him his whole life, who was living with disabilities. And he put hands on her. 2 years, that's all he got. Then in 2011, they caught him in Michigan with a stolen gun and 73 baggies of 73. That ain't personal use, that's distribution. But somehow, someway, he took a plea deal, and they didn't even charge him for the drugs, just the weapon. Oh, and while we're looking at his history, he had domestic battery charges in Illinois too. This man was collecting violent crimes across state lines like he was on tour. But here's what really gets me hot. When he shot at Briekethia in 2020, he was on supervised release from federal prison, meaning the system already had him, already knew he was dangerous, was supposed to be watching him, and they let him get close enough to nearly kill this woman. So, what does our justice system do with a man who tries to murder his girlfriend while on federal supervision? a man with a history of beating women across multiple states. They let him plead down to lesser charges. 4 years. 4 years. And before somebody in the comments starts talking about maybe there were circumstances. What circumstances make it okay to shoot at a woman's head? What circumstances justify traumatizing her daughter? I'll wait. While Cory got his little slap on the wrist, Briekethia was fighting for her life. The physical recovery was hard enough, but the psychological damage, that was the real battle. She went through months of rehabilitation, had to relearn things the rest of us take for granted. Her family rallied around her. Nicole, Magetta, Lavetta, everybody came through. They did therapy sessions together, made sure she was never alone during the vulnerable times, helped her rebuild. And slowly, it looked like she was winning, getting her life together for her kids. The community was proud of her. Survival stories don't always have happy endings, but it seemed like Briekethia's would. The prosecutors said this man was a multi-state offender with significant felony history. They said it in court, put it on record, and still gave him 4 years. With credit for time served. You know when this man got out? October 2023. But even locked up, Cory wasn't done with Briekethia. According to Nassie's post, he was making death threats from prison. Death threats. From behind bars, where he was supposed to be paying for trying to kill her. He was promising to finish the job. And what did the system do about these threats? What protection did they offer Briekethia for when he got out? I'll tell you what they did. Not a damn thing. They counted down his days like he was waiting for Christmas. And then they opened them doors and let him walk. October 2023. He's free. By October 2024? Do the math, y'all. They were back together. I know some of y'all just threw your phone. I know because I almost threw mine when I read that part. How? How does a woman go from testifying against a man who tried to kill her to taking him back? How does she go from survivor to statistic? The answer is ugly and complicated, and it's called trauma bonding. See, when somebody asked Briekethia why she went back, she had all the answers. He'd changed. He'd been to therapy. He was sorry. He understood what he did wrong. The time in prison had given him clarity. He wasn't that man anymore. But deeper than that, and this is the part that's hard to hear, her brain had been rewired by the abuse. Every time Cory hurt her and then apologized, every time he raged and then cried, every time he destroyed and then promised to rebuild, her brain was creating chemical dependencies. She wasn't addicted to him. She was addicted to the cycle. The family tried everything. Nicole begged. Magetta and Lavetta staged interventions. They reminded her about the shooting, about the recovery, about her children who needed her alive. They offered her money, places to stay, whatever she needed to stay away from him. But trauma bonding doesn't care about logic. It doesn't care about family meetings or good advice or even self-preservation. It's a psychological prison where the prisoner believes they're free. Nassie wrote that she doesn't know why her mama went back or what her intentions were. But those of us who understand this cycle, we know. Briekethia went back because she believed love could fix him. Because she thought if she just loved him right this time, if she just didn't trigger him, if she just was perfect enough, it would be different. From October 2024 to February 2025. 4 months. That's all the time Briekethia had left, though she didn't know it. 4 months of what I'm sure started sweet. 4 months of promises kept and violence suppressed. 4 months of her family holding their breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. The neighbors in the Lee Harvard area started noticing things. Raised voices, loud arguments, that same pattern from before. Explosion, silence, explosion, silence. Some of them saw bruises. Some of them heard things that made them uncomfortable. But what do? You can't force a grown woman to leave. You can't call the police for arguments. So they watched and worried and waited. By February 2025, whatever honeymoon period they'd had was over. The mask was slipping. The real Cory, the one who beat his disabled mother, who sold drugs, who shot at women, he was coming back to the surface. And Briekethia's family knew it. They could see it in how she was withdrawing again, how she was making excuses not to come around, how she was back to walking on eggshells. But when you've already begged someone not to go back and they went anyway, what's left to say? February 9th, 2025. It was a Sunday morning. Church day for most of the neighborhood. Kids playing outside, people getting ready for service, regular life happening all around. Nobody could have known that while they were picking out their Sunday best, Briekethia Pruitt was living her last moments.
Disturbing new information tonight on a local man who is accused of murder.
19 investigators found the suspect has a significant criminal history spanning multiple states.
And the woman he's accused of killing, police say he's been violent with her in the past.
New at 6, here's investigator Mike Mason with what we've uncovered.
Can we find out why I'm even here?
Cory Sanders only said a few words in court Wednesday morning before his public defender invoked his right to silence. The 41-year-old is charged with aggravated murder, accused of fatally shooting a woman on Judson Avenue over the weekend. Police say 39-year-old Briekethia Pruitt was found dead inside of a car registered to Sanders, and they also have cell phone data connecting him to the crime scene. According to court records we obtained, Sanders recently threatened Pruitt with a gun, and 19 investigators found he's also been accused of trying to kill her in the past. In March of 2020, Sanders was arrested for strangling and beating Pruitt, who was his girlfriend at the time. Pruitt told police Sanders also fired a gun at her head. He was charged with attempted murder, but pleaded guilty to lesser charges and was sentenced to 4 years in prison. At the time the 2020 attack on Pruitt occurred, 19 investigators found Sanders was on supervised release from federal prison, where he had spent nearly 8 years locked up on a weapons charge. In 2011, he was busted in Michigan with a stolen gun and 73 baggies of cocaine and heroin. Records show he took a plea deal in that case and wasn't charged for the drugs. In 2008, Sanders was sentenced to 2 years in prison for brutally beating his handicapped mother in her Cleveland home. We found he also has convictions in Illinois for domestic battery and drugs. In his previous cases, attorneys for Sanders said he has significant psychological and emotional issues as a result of his abusive childhood. According to court records, he was born to a drug-addicted mother who stabbed him 32 times when he was only 5. Sanders said he spent several years in foster care and residential juvenile facilities. While in prison, he said he began pursuing a bachelor's degree in social work because he wanted to help troubled teens that faced abuse and neglect.
He didn't even try to hide it, y'all. Left her in his car, on a public street. Like her life meant so little he couldn't be bothered to cover his tracks. The disrespect of it all. Killing her was apparently not enough. He had to display her too. The prosecutor called him a multi-state offender again. Like that title meant something now, that Briekethia was dead. Like pointing out his pattern mattered when they'd already given him a second chance to complete it. After her mama died, Nazi took to Facebook with a message that broke my heart and lit a fire under me at the same time. She told the whole story. From that first meeting on Tagged, to finding Cory in their house with a gun, to watching him pointed at her own head when the bullets ran out. But the part that got me was when she wrote about October 2024. By 10/20/24, they were back in a relationship. I do not know why she went back to him or what her intentions were. Feel that confusion, that pain of a daughter who did everything right, who tried to save her mama, who literally put herself between a gun and her mother, but still couldn't stop this tragedy. That's what the system does. It fails the victims and their families. Nazi ended her post with wisdom beyond her years. When a person really shows you who they are, believe it. Don't look over the red flags, save yourself while you can. This baby had to become the teacher because the world failed to protect the student. Here's what makes me madder than anything. This case became part of a bigger conversation about the Cuyahoga County Jail refusing to hold uncharged suspects. You heard that right. While Briekethia's family was planning her funeral, politicians were arguing about jail contracts. Nicole Geiger, in the middle of grieving her sister, had to go on the news and explain why letting violent criminals back on the streets is dangerous.
And it's hard because now we gotta bury our sister. He took her from her kids, her grandkids, sisters, brothers. It was not her time. I know sometimes love is tough, but when they show you one time who they are, don't go back. And I just still, it's like, I can't believe that he did it. It's like so much hate right now. Me being with my sister for the month that I have been, I've actually seen him pull a gun out on my sister.
Because that's exactly what happened with Cory. They let him out after shooting a woman in the head, and he did it all over again. Just like Nicole predicted. Just like anybody with sense could have predicted. Remember when I mentioned Tanasia Parker at the beginning? Let me bring it full circle. Jermaine Wesley, 51 years old, shot a woman in the head before he met Tanasia. The system let him out. He killed Tanasia and himself, with her 4-year-old in the house. Cory Sanders, 41 years old, shot a woman in the head. The system let him out. He killed Briekethia and left her in a car to be found by strangers. 2 different cities, 2 different women, same story, same ending. And somewhere right now, there's another woman dating another man who already shot somebody in the head. And she doesn't know it, because the system cares more about second chances for violent men than first chances for their victims to stay alive. Nicole Geiger said something that stays with me. It's hard, because now we have to bury our sister. He took her away from her kids, her grandkids, sisters, brothers. It was not her time. 5 kids lost their mama. Not to cancer, not to a car accident, not to anything that couldn't have been prevented. They lost her to a man the system knew was dangerous and chose to release anyway. But here's what Cory didn't count on. Briekethia's story didn't die with her. Her family turned their grief into action. Nicole started speaking out about domestic violence, about system failures, about the need for real change. The community that loved Briekethia refused to let her death be just another statistic. So, where does that leave us? I'll tell you where. It leaves us with work to do. Because every single one of you watching knows somebody in a dangerous relationship. Every single one of you has that friend, that cousin, that co-worker who keeps going back to somebody who hurts them. And I need you to understand, sharing this video isn't just about views or likes. It's about education. It's about helping somebody recognize the trauma bonding before it kills them. It's about pushing for system change so the next Cory Sanders doesn't get 4 years for attempted murder. Here's what you're gonna do right now. First, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Not for me, for the next woman whose story needs to be told. Because these stories save lives when we tell them right.